You already know. If I come on 5 minutes late, you already know what it's about. If I'm late, come on, Sarah, I'm going to tell the truth. If I'm late, no, this is not a re-upload. This is live. If I'm late, it's because of one person. And I'm going to tell you who this one person is. She's got a birthday today, and she was out there tripping. She came in here high. She was stumbling. She was drunk.
Those my shoes.
She was like, listen here, nigga. I don't answer to nobody. That's how she came in. Listen, this is my birthday. And I does what I do. Drunk Sarah, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, Sarah wasn't drunk. It is her birthday today. So Sarah, yes. This is the one day you can be 45 minutes late.
Big Mama say I'm lying.
Look at Big Mama, 45 minutes late, huh? This is the one day you can forget your keys. My purse spilled over in my car and all my effects ran away. This is the one day, Sarah. September 3rd is Sarah's birthday. Can everybody wish Sarah a happy birthday? And can everybody hit her super chat just to show your appreciation for her? Please, Sarah, $ Sundays with Sarah. All right? Now, for all the people who are having problems accessing the Masterclass, because a lot of people say, oh, I had problems accessing, and I know why. You didn't check your spam, because all of the links that you need, the Zoom link, everything was in your email. I got a whole professional team. It was damn near 200 people in the live session for Module 1 of the Masterclass. So, if you had problems accessing it, I guarantee you didn't read. You didn't check your spam. And it's there. It's right there in front of you. Now, tomorrow is, now, if you're signed up, you can go back and you can watch Module 1. Tomorrow gonna be so crazy in the master class, and the master class is still available. You can still get it. I know you guys heard me say I would raise the price, from the little $59, $60 that it was. It's gonna be different. We raised it, but we didn't raise it as much as I said I was. I said I was gonna raise it to like $120, and it's not that, all right? We only raised it like $20, $30 from what it was. So I'm asking, if you haven't signed up, you can still sign up. Please check your emails, because you're going to get hit with emails from the University of U. You're going to get hit with emails, okay? Go to ZoWhatMasterclass.com and sign up now, and you can go back and watch Module 1. Module 2 begins tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let me promote a couple of things. X-Wolf. X-Wolf will get that thing up. X-Wolf is the black, Nugenics. You having a little lag in your testosterone? Huh? Your little meat billy club having a hard time stiffening. This is the thing. This is the product to get. It is a black-owned business. X-Wolf. Tonkat Ali, that's what's in it. Huh? Horny goat weed. You want a stiffy? You want to deliver? You better get this supplement. And it's all natural. It's not a lot of gobbledygook in it, like trimerazone. The fuck is that? And none of that's in it. All right? X-Wolf, black-owned business. What I want you guys to do is go to X Labs. That's X, as in DMX, or Exhibit. X Labs, plural, labs, supps, SUPPS.com. X Labs supps. I'm on it. I got like 4 bottles. I'm on it for stiffification. Don't worry about it, brother. We gon' fix the name. Don't you worry, because we got Omar on the line. We about to bring Omar in here too. All right? X-Wolf, testosterone builder. All right? Go get it. Do it now. Total package energy. Huh? Total package energy. The greatest energy drink in the world. B vitamins, amino acids. And they have a new protein product. Pea protein. Not urine, but pea, as in the vegetable. How many people you heard say vegetable? Ain't no T in the word. It's vegetable. I eat my vegetables. You don't get your coon talking ass out. I'm sorry. Total package energy. Please support the black-owned business right now. Also, go get the relationship dismount, how to stick the landing when exiting a toxic relationship, available in 3 formats on Amazon.com, Kindle, Audible, and paperback. The holographic relationship is available on Kindle, and it's available on your iPhone. HuriKane Report, you already know, H-report.news. Write it. Take action, maintain freedom. This is a news source, a dope news source presented by a group of people that felt the need to create an alternative news source that speaks specifically to ADOS. Please support, 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 support. And if you're trying to build your own podcast, you need the podcast master, Terry Lomax. TerryLomax.com. She will help you build it from the ground up, grow your audience, and monetize your platform. Main Sacre. I just got some new socks from Made Man Sacre. Please support Made Man Sacre. All you have to do is go follow them on IG. Made Man Sacre. Small, black-owned business out of Texas. Beautiful lady behind it. If y'all saw her, y'all would buy all of her socks. I'm just saying. Made Man Sacre. All right. Today's topic. We're going to fix this I'm going to fix it right now, Omar. Today's topic, living forever. African thought and philosophy on death. This year has seen a tremendous amount of death. Kobe, COVID, John Thompson, Cliff Robinson, and many, many others, and of course, Chadwick Boseman. Again, this is a special mansions, ZOLO Mansions. And I wanted to bring on our resident high-end fashion designer / historian, the good brother, OMAR Buckley of RAMOMAR. What up, bro? You see, I'm rocking the gear, man. You see me, right?
I see you.
Yeah. I'm looking icy. And you have on one of the shirts as well.
Oh yeah, I got on the tie. I got to represent Tarka today.
Yeah. Hey, turn him up so I can hear him a little better. Let's just get right into it, brother. What is the African perspective, the ancient African perspective on death? And why have we been taught to fear it? Break it down.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. First of all,
Oh, awesome. Anytime.
happy to do this again. So, the reason I wanted to bring up this subject is because of all the death we're seeing now around the world, all the events happening around the world. So I just wanted to, delve into the ancient philosophy of what they believed back then, and how basically expressing the opposite of what we think today compared to what the ancients thought, the ancient Africans. So we always have to focus on where we can find evidence, receipts, as they would call it today. And the receipts are basically written words that were later on copied by other people, repackaged. So we want to focus on things that we can see, we can cross-check, and other people in the future can also come behind us and reference it also. So the culture in Africa that left the most receipts is along the Nile. So they are like, people call it the mouthpiece of Africa. A lot of the receipts were left there. A lot of the thoughts, the philosophies were left in that civilization, mainly because they were able to maintain the civilization for so long. So the first thing we have to understand is, before we were born into this physical plane, we were something before we got our name to heaven. The ancients were aware that when you were born, you weren't created 9 months ago by your mother. You existed in a pre-physical form, and that pre-physical form took a certain process to manifest itself. Meaning, let's put it this way: the pre-physical form is way older than the physical form that you take. It took way longer to create that, what we today call a soul, than what it takes 9 months to create a body for the soul. So the ancients were always aware that we're here on borrowed time. These vessels are temporary, but there is something that lasts eternally. And that eternal part of us is the soul. So the ancients were focused on perfecting this inner being, this being that's trapped within this flesh. This what we today call it a soul. Back then, they referred to it as a ba. So we have to understand now, this inner light, this inner source, predates everything, even in the world itself, even the physical planet itself. When you understand where a soul comes from and how it eventually falls into this matter, you realize it took so long to create the soul, and it's not easily destroyed compared to what you're taught today. That if you do some wrong things, your soul will get destroyed, it gets sent to the fire, and people are now in fear because they don't understand their predecessors. The fear today keeps people in line, keeps people in belief system, and keeps people in faith. And we're actually trying to explain now tonight the ancient philosophy of what a soul is, where it comes from, and where does it go after it leaves the body.
Let me ask, because a lot of people are like skeptical of even the term soul, like it's not real. Like, how do you know anybody has a soul? How do you know a soul is real? Because we live in a society that's aspiritual. It's not really a spiritual society, so we become skeptical of terms like soul. You said, the ancients said the soul, their term for it was ba. What does the word ba, B-A, what does that mean?
Well, it's a reverse, what I'll say, because one thing you have to know, the way the ancients spoke, they use a lot of wordplay. So, for example, while you're alive, the thing that keeps you alive is your heart. But when you're gone, like for example, I'm trying to give an example. The way the ancients would come up with words is they would mirror things.
Mm-hmm.
So while you're here, your heart or your ib keeps you alive. And then when you transition back to the other side of yourself, it's the opposite of that. So when you go to the opposite of ab, it's ba.
Mm-hmm.
You have AB, and then you have the opposite, which is BA. So we understand how the ancients kind of spoke. They basically reverse things. For example, I always have to try to give an example. For example, let me give you an example. The ancient word for heart is ib. So when you see the words and everybody says it, but nobody ever explains where they get this word from, why they came up with this word. Are we supposed to just believe them? Are they the authorities that they have the final say? Or should we change our mind and come up with our own thoughts? But when you study how they thought, they wanted everything to be true. They wanted everything to be true of voice. So they literally took the sound of a beating heart and called it the sound it made. So the Egyptian word for heart is ibn, based on the sound of your beating heart. Ibn. So that's an example of me trying to make people, you have to get into their mindset. So when these people spoke, they spoke truth. Because when you realize even one word, it makes sense to you, you're like, now it makes sense. I see why they would call it the ibn. So today now, when you look at the word heart, it goes back to some guy who made up a word in a dictionary, in an etymology book, and you're basically going along with a guy. But when you deal with the ancients, you're sticking to factual information. You're sticking to truth. So I'm trying to tell the audience, you have to realize the mindset you have today is way opposite of how they thought. So that's just one example of how they would speak, how one word was truthful, and no matter how much thousands of years go by, nobody can change it because it's what it is, it's fact. Your descendants can't come along later and say, you know what, I don't like this word, let's change it. Let's put it to something else. So that's just giving one example. I can't get into all the words, but that's just one example of how one word is so truthful, they kept it for the entire 3,000-year period.
Wow.
Today we use words some guy made up, and a lot of stuff we use today some person made up. But when we reference to the ancients, we're sticking to people who are truthful. Everything to them was ma'aheru, means true of voice. The language, their writings, the inscriptions they wrote was all supposed to be factual. So now, according to them, a soul is a unseen force, just similar to gravity, similar to the wind. It's an unseen force that possesses us. Just like how we breathe in air, we can't see the air. Just like how gravity holds us down, yet we cannot see it. They realize there's a lot of unseen elements around us that keeps us alive. So they were trying to figure out, some people would come back here. For example, you'll have a village. Some children would come back somehow a little wiser than the other children. So when you're in African culture, African tribal civilization, when you see one child seems to be a little different from the rest, it's either you think that the universe or God blessed this child, or this child has some divine wisdom from somewhere. It's as if this child's been here before. And you can see that today. You'll see some children are into this, and you see some children are into that. And you're like, why is this child always separate himself, studying, he's into something else compared to the other children? So the ancients try to figure this out in regards to what is in this child that makes him different. Because obviously when you look at the child, he looks like every other child. He's same age, same village, but there's something different. So what they came to the conclusion of, this child has something way older within himself than other kids around him. So that to them, that was the evidence. This child came back with some sort of memory of something from before. And if this child came back with something from before, that means he had to have experienced something in a prior existence before the one he has now. And if he's carrying information from something from before into a brand new body as a child, there is some element, some force that seems to transfer from one life into the next. So that's just trying to give an example of how they would think. What makes this person know more than this other person? Is it because you're smarter, faster? They looked at it as wisdom being passed on from one life to the next. And there's a vehicle that carries that wisdom to the next life. And that vehicle is what they call a soul.
Now,
So that's how they would come to the conclusion of the evidence. What separates this person from that person?
now, what's really big about what you're saying that's really bugging me out? Because a lot of times black folk need white folk to validate what we've always known. So what's really interesting here is there's a quote by Albert Einstein, and he says, "The field is the sole governing agency of the particle." So he said there's a field of energy around every particle. And particles pop in and out of existence based on our observation of them. And the field, as Einstein said, is the sole governing agency of that particle. In other words, the energy around it dictates what the particle does. Now, if you're paying attention, that's the scientific explanation of the soul. See, they don't go too far away from what the ancients have already laid out. It's just that we don't marry the two concepts. Now, Einstein understood the particle shows up when we observe it. He didn't always agree. You know, there's a big argument between him and Niels Bohr about observation. Our observation collapses the wave function and brings things into existence. He didn't always agree, but he understood that there was an energy signature around every particle. The ancients called it Ba, and here we are, 2020, skeptical about soul and spirit. Talk to me.
Yeah. So what the ancients come to realize is you are made up of different parts. You're not made up of just your name and who you think you are. You're made up of different attributes that make you the whole that you are today. So they would say you're made up of 5 parts. You're made up of your mother's genetics, your father's genetics, you're made up of your zodiac sign, you're made up of your experience, meaning your experience of now, when you're a child, the neighborhood you grew up in, the friends you're around. So the experience you have in the now also makes you up. But the final part that makes up is the soul part, the eternal part that has seen all the journeys of these lives you've had. So let me say that again. You're made up of your father's genetics, your mother's genetics. You're made up of your zodiac sign that you're under, the influence that the planets have over you. You're also made up of the experience of your today's existence, what your ka, they would call it, experience, which you can call your spirit. And then the final part of you is your soul. That's the part that takes all this information from all these lives and then take it to the next one. So they would say you're made up of your ba, and then the ba has a soul. Then they're made up of your ka. Your ka is this physical shell. That shell that's made up of your zodiac sign, your parents' genetics, and the experience of the world that you're in now. And your soul, you have to think of your soul. Your soul is like a driver within the shell. It's like a driver within a car. It uses the car for a certain period of time. It experiences the journey in this car, and eventually, some cars go a long route. Some cars get into accidents along the way. Some cars need surgery. Some cars need a tire fix. Some cars need upgrades. And eventually, the driver must exit the car, which we today call death. But not because the driver left the car, means that's the only car the soul or the driver will ever have in the universe existence. So we understand that now. The driver or the soul of these vehicles, these vessels, can leave these vessels and upgrade to another car. Hence the whole reincarnation term. You don't get one car to drive the universe and think you know what the universe is about in one vessel, one neighborhood, one section of the planet, and think your soul knows everything about life. It knows the ups and downs. It knows all about nature. It knows about the races around the world in one little life for 20, 40, 50, or 60 years. It's just one journey amongst men. So the ancients would break it up. You have the ka, K-A, which you can today call a car, and you have the ba, which is the driver within the car. So the point now is,
So wait, before you keep going, let me stop you, because people are saying the audio isn't right. So let me just let Sarah work on that for 1 second, and then we're gonna jump right back to you. You saying something though that I mean I can hear you perfectly, but you're saying something that I think is really, really powerful about the ka. In the scripture, whether it's the Bible or the Quran, they have terms. They have ruhu or ruach for soul, and then they have nefesh, nefsaka, nafs, personality. And it seems like you're describing what's in the biblical term and the Quranic term as well. You have a spirit and a soul. The soul is divine, and the spirit is personality based.
Yes, exactly.
Do you see? Because the way you described it, you said astrology, your culture, where you're from, how you were raised, contributes to your spirit.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because you called it a car, a vehicle,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And who we are as people can serve as an efficient vehicle throughout our reality here, right? Because you see how I do. I listen to what you say and then I tie it in to other disciplines,
Yes.
right? Whether it be biblical, whether it be Christian, right? And I'm seeing the connection here. Ka is personality or spirit. Ba is soul. Go ahead. We got him? We got his audio right? Let's see. Let's try it. Go ahead. Yeah, I think we're good.
So, what we have to understand now is it takes more than one drive in a car for the soul to get completed. You have to understand that now. You don't drive one car for 40 years, 50 years, or 80 years. Because remember, by the time you reach 80 years, your car may drive the way you drive when you're 20. So, and when you get advanced age, the car starts to slow down after a certain age. The health of the car, the soul can't get full use out of the car after a certain age. The eyesight, the lenses start to degrade. Everything, the skin starts to degrade. So even if you stay for 100 years, the soul really needs to use this car while it's in its prime. You can say between teenage years to your 40s and 50s, you can say. But after that, it's almost like it's preparing to head to the junkyard.
So let me be clear. Because this is interesting. You're telling me that the spirit aspect or the ka can degrade?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's called being on the trapped in time. The body ages by time, the soul ages by degrees. The ancient broke down 2 times. You have physical time, that's under gravity, the earth rotating, the solar system rotating, the galaxy rotating, the universe spinning. That rotation causes what today call time. Just like when you have to think of time. When you're on a roller coaster, you notice when you're on a roller coaster, you get pushed back in the seat. That movement causes you to be stuck in one position. That's like the universe rotating causes that all these forces rotating causes the gravity we experience and the time we experience. So that force eventually starts to degrade on your body. Just like gravity, your skin starts to age, the gravity, the collagen in your skin can't hold up the gravity anymore. You age, the blood vessels are not going to your face, so you get gray, the melatonin starts dissolving in your face. So what I'm trying to say is this.
Oh wait, hold on, Omar. Just stop altogether.
It ages by degrees, meaning a soul. Let me break it down. The word soul is Latin for light. So every time you say soul, you're saying light.
You're saying sun, right? Saul.
Light wants to get brighter. Light starts off dim, and with each light, the hotter it gets, the brighter it gets higher in degree. Everyone says two different time periods. As we age, as we get older, our back hunch, the soul is learning and the soul is getting brighter and brighter as you age. So it's like two different age times. So we have to understand the difference between physical time and spiritual time. It's not the same.
Okay, so I'm understanding this. Let's hold on 1 second because she's still working on the audio. You can hear? I think a lot of people's phones are janky. Yeah, I think a lot of people watching this on their phones, and I think a lot of people can't hear because they need a new phone. Because we have somebody in here who's listening to the show on their phone, and they can hear you perfectly. But I did think what you just said was amazing. The spirit, i.e. the body, he ages in time, but the soul ages in what?
Degrees.
Degrees. Degrees of brightness.
Yes, exactly.
So soul, you said, comes from a Latin word, or? Now, you done got rid of him altogether, babe. Hold on. What? Say it again?
Soul. That's all else.
Solar.
Yeah, like solar, like the sun.
So soul is sun.
Same as the sun.
Got it.
Light in you.
Wow. This is crazy. So wait, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, Omar. Hold on. We're going to wait for Sarah.
Somebody messed with this.
Somebody messed with our volume.
But it should be.
Just give us 3 minutes. Is my mic still on?
Yeah, you're right.
All right. Give me 3 minutes, Omar. We're going to get this together because this information is a little bit too valuable. Right? So just give me 3 minutes. Now, let me just come back to this. The Masterclass. Y'all should go sign up for the Masterclass if you haven't done it already. Module 2 begins tomorrow, September 4th. And then we have another module on Saturday. And then what? Tuesday. And then another one on Tuesday. All right, Sarah's working on this audio real quick because I do not want to miss any of this. All right? Everybody should go to ZoWhatMasterclass.com and lock in right now. Let's see. Okay, yes. She's troubleshooting right now. So just be patient with us because we want to tie in the ancient concept of death with the modern day concept of death. And Omar has just broken down the difference between the Ka and the Ba. Ka, ancient Kemetan for spirit. He says that ages in time. And then the Ba ages in degree. Ba, soul, soul, sol, sol, sun, light. Degrees of brightness. So just in case y'all missed that, we clear now. All right, Sarah just stepped out for 1 second. Just be patient with us, y'all. Sarah stepped out for 1 second. She's on the phone with our tech guy. Can you hear me? So I'm clear. Good. Let's see. Tell the government to let... The government ain't got nothing to do with this. Well, maybe. Maybe. So she's going to get it fixed for us. One other thing. If you're having issues signing into the Masterclass, I would say the biggest problem right now is the emails are coming from a space that might be seen as spam. All you got to do is, you thought you dug down, didn't you, Sarah?
Oh, I'm bad. I'm sorry.
Sarah, listen, this got to be the worst birthday of Sarah's life.
Oh my God.
She came up here crying. She was high and drunk.
Oh
Are we good? All right. Did Mike tell you what to do?
He's still on the phone. Hold on.
He's still on the phone. He gonna help you get this right. Lord have mercy. What are we in a full moon, Pisces or something? No, he said, no, it's y'all. Y'all have the janky phone. You saw a side boob. Sarah's boobs are not out. What in the world? Oh, God. All right?
Okay, those are both sides.
You good?
Okay, maybe it should be fine now.
Maybe it should be fine now.
Okay, try it.
All right. Omar, before you start talking, give me a testing 1 2 1 2.
Yes, I'm here. 1 2 1 2. I'm here.
He said he's here. 1 2 1 2.
Did you hear him out here? Say it one more time, bro.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Can you guys hear him? 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2.
Here.
They said better. All right.
Okay. All right.
Better.
Thank you, Michael.
All right.
All right.
They said, hey. All right. So you in.
Okay.
So do me a favor real quick. Just give me a recap of the Ka and Ba. The spirit versus the soul. Soul ages in degrees, spirit ages in time. Give us a quick recap of that so we can move.
Okay. So, summarizing it again, we're made up, our existence is not made up of our singular who we are now. We're not made up of what the name our parents gave us, the experiences we have in this one life, the bad or the good experiences we have. We're made up of different parts. So the ancients broke up. You have this Ka, which is this physical body, the shell. The Ka is like a shell. It's a temporal. You can answer the word Ka, K-A. It's similar to saying the word car. So you can say your Ka or your car. It's just a vehicle for a journey. The driver in the car, they would call the Ba. So the driver is the one controlling where this car is going to go. The driver is reacting to the road that's given to it. So if it's going to go left, right, up, based on the life it's in. If some people are going to derive your road, that's the question. While you're here, some roads are going to lead to dead ends based on the system we are living in. Some roads are going to lead to success based on what the system preordained for these cars to go. So we have to, when you understand that, you have to understand certain things are rigged already in the system to benefit some groups, for some cars to go in another direction, and they rig it to make other people, other journeys end up here. Then they can pick and choose what car they want to bring over here and say, this car is super special, let's put it over here. So we have to understand that this reality that we are experiencing is made up of people from past experience. The world we're born in is made up of ideas from people before us. So we have to be aware of that, so we can know that in our lifetime, in our time here, we can change the roads that these cars are driving. We don't have to follow the roads preordained by the people who paved the way ahead of us to end up in a certain direction that benefits them. So the Ka is this physical shell, this body. The driver is the Ba. The driver predated the creation of this car. The driver was created way before this car was currently occupied. And after this car runs its course, the driver doesn't die with the car. The driver exits the car. And you can say the driver goes back to the dealership to see, or you have two choices. The soul either goes back to the dealership to get a new car, or it goes back to source, the manufacturer of the car. So you basically, the soul, and the only way it wants to go back to source is after it felt it's filled up on all these journeys. It drove through this car, the Lamborghini, the Rolls Royce, the Toyota. It went through all these different lives, all these different journeys. So the driver feels like it's seen it all, done it all. Once it reaches that point, the Ba, the driver, wants to now go back to source, go back to the manufacturer. So that's the whole term of trying to get back to heaven one day. But not because you leave the car doesn't mean we automatically go back to the manufacturer. Some souls need more cars to continue their journey. Some souls are on the road and they got into an accident and their car crashed. AKA they passed away, accident, murder, death. That doesn't mean they reached the end of their journey because they got killed. they have to get another car to get back on the road.
Okay, boy. Slap him in the face then, Omar. I love it. So are you telling me that reincarnation is real? Are you telling me that death, actual death, is not, according to the African ancient philosophy and perspective?
No, it's not. The evidence of this is just in the society back then itself. They had figures who passed away, and they would create ancestral shrines to the spirit of these figures, such as, you can say, Imhotep. You have figures that passed away, and hundreds of years later, people making pilgrimages, bringing offerings to give to his spirit. And the person, he died 500, 600 years ago, even 800 years later. Why would people in the physical world bring offerings to somebody who's dead 500, 1,000 years ago?
Still alive.
Obviously, there's some part of this driver that's lingering. There's some spirit, some soul part of this person in the spirit world that was lingering. So what they would do is the ancients would create shrines. People would bring food to the shrines. Now, let's go into a temple, a hut. They would also have shrines within temples. Why would sophisticated priests, wealthy priests, before they ate their food, put out a plate for some unseen spirit to eat first? Remember, we're talking about sophisticated ancient people. Before they partake in their meal, they made sure an ancestor was fed first. After the ancestor was fed and drank, remember, the food is there. The food is not being eaten.
Right.
The water is not being drank.
Right.
But they, out of respect for the unseen around them, they had to make sure that element was acknowledged. The food is not to give to the spirit, it's to acknowledge you're aware of their presence around you. They would leave the food out. After a certain period of time, then they would eat the food after. They don't put the food to waste. They don't let it there till flies and bugs eat it. But the point is, these sophisticated people would feed an unseen spirit before they fed themselves.
Wow. Wow. Now, guess what? That's not just Kemetan.
Yeah.
That's Ifa.
Yeah.
That's Africa.
Yeah.
Africa. All over Africa, they acknowledge the ancestors. And now what's happening is, or what has been happening for a long time, and maybe you can chime in on this too, Omar, your ancient belief systems is the devil in their book, is demonic in their book. They listen, this boy Jordan Peele just came out with this Lovecraft TV show on HBO.
Yes.
And in the third episode, they in a haunted house, they bring in a priestess of Oya, one of the Orisha. Now you can say the Orisha is the West African equivalent to the Netaru.
Yes.
Because the Orisha deal with nature, the Netaru deal with nature, right?
Yes. Yes.
They bring in the priest of Oya to cleanse this house of a demon, a man, a white man, who tortured 8 black people, and the spirits of all of them are still in this damn house, and they bring her in, and the spirits possess and beat her ass. And then the only way they can get the spirit out is all of a sudden the spirits that were there turned regular, and they held hands, and a Christian song about the devil came on, and they started chanting to that dude, "Get out." So they're using Christianity, which is a watered down, recontextualized, a European, Western, they're not using ancient Christianity, because Africans have a version of that too.
Yes.
They're not using that. They're using, "Oh Lord Jesus, get out." And they're using that version to supersede the ancient version. Remember, even in the movie, what's the movie with the little doll, little badass doll killing people? Chucky's badass. In that movie, was it Child's Play?
Yeah.
In the Child's Play movie, he's mentioning voodoo, and he's mentioning voodoo terms when he's trying to take the possession of the little boy's body. They've always villainized yo stuff. Why is that the case, Omar?
Okay. What they're trying to do is to maintain a fear of yourself.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
It's easy to control these human vehicles, these bodies. The easiest way to control these physical bodies is through fear. Especially when you're trying to let a certain demographic of people fear themselves. Basically, you know, as we said in previous talks, you have a lion group, you have a dog group. Lions are bigger, lions are stronger, they have bigger teeth, they have more strength, they come in bigger numbers. And there's a certain group that don't want these lions to go back to the way they used to be. So they have to use fear to keep them outside of themselves. What you have to understand now is, when you have a people who didn't fear death, mainly because they had ancestral spirits for generations. They acknowledge the ancestors while you're in the physical, because one day when you pass away, you yourself will become one. So you can't fear what you will one day become. But unfortunately today, they're doing the opposite. They're trying to get you to fear what you will become anyway. Whether you ever believe in things, whether you believe in this, that, the book, this, a person, you're going to become a spirit anyway. So they're trying to let people fear that, oh, if you don't read this book, you're going to end up, your spirit is going to end up burning over here or get punished over there. It's going to get destroyed over there based on human fears. Remember, the soul doesn't have any fear. The soul has been here before. So the death that we're scared of now, the soul already experienced that. The body, though, itself is in fear. It's in fear of being exited immediately or for something it's doing now in the future.
Right.
So what you have to understand now is they're using fear to control people's perception of their reality. For example, you couldn't convince a culture or people, like we previously said, who would feed deceased spirits, ancestors who died hundreds of years ago, who have ancestors that go back thousands of years, that somebody died for them. How are you going to convince people somebody died for them when they have thousands of years of generations of ancestors who also died for them? It doesn't make sense. They obviously, if they have ancestors now and you're communing with them, you're feeding them, you know that when you become an ancestor, you are hoping your descendants will also feed your spirit, will also acknowledge your spirit. So the point is, when you have people in fear of death, that's the only way that can be maintained is for them to lock out connection to their ancestors.
So you saying are you saying ancestral worship has always been a part of the ancient Africans' life? The ancestral worship led to benefits by acknowledging your lineage who has crossed over. They have supported you, they protect you in some kind of way, and now you've been conditioned to think that that is somehow evil.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And again, the reason they have to maintain that, for us to be a believer into something, especially believing somebody died for you, basically they're telling you, you only got one ancestor now and he died for all of us. That's basically what they're telling, that's what people believe today. They believe there's one ancestor, he's the son of God, and he's the only one that died for us, and he's the only ancestor we need to be seeing when we pass away. So we're all, billions of souls that's in this world, they supposedly have descended back to one ancestor, and he died for all of us. When you understand traditional cultures, whether it's in China, India, Mesoamerica, or Africa, or Mesopotamia, the only ones that don't acknowledge this is Romans, Greco-Romans. They don't really acknowledge ancestors. They just acknowledge who you descended from. I descended from Caesar. I descended from Augustus. They base their physical status on who they directly descended from. But for the Aboriginal cultures, when you saw a chief, the chief is not just himself. The chief is speaking on behalf of his ancestors.
Right.
So you listen to the chief, you're not just listening to him, you're listening to all the voices of the ancestors speak through him.
Wow.
So that's why in traditional cultures, whether it's in Mexico, Asia, Africa, chiefs, elders, kings, pharaohs are always respected. When you look at Rome, a Roman emperor was killed every 5 years, 2 years. They don't respect their chiefs. They don't respect their emperors. They can get assassinated. They don't look at them as divine. They don't look at the emperor, the Roman emperor, as speaking with their ancestors. Their culture seems to not have that sort of connection. And that's the type of mindset we're under today. We're under a Roman thinking.
We're thinking like wolves instead of lions. So a lot of people are asking, what is the clicking sound? Can Sarah do her work? Jesus, she's taking pictures. And you know what she's taking pictures of? Pictures that we will be posting up shortly in this discussion. Did somebody hear some cameras? Is that my phone? Just relax, guys. It's going to be okay. Sarah's having a bad day. Y'all should hit Sarah's Cash App. It's her birthday. She needs something good right now because it's been a tough day for Sarah. Sarah, can you post this picture? Because what this brother is talking about right now, when we post this next picture, because I want Omar to break this down. When we post this next picture, this is going to tell you something. Like, I don't believe in accidents. I don't think things happen haphazardly with no purpose, right? I just don't believe that. And when I saw this ancient bust, this statue, I said, what in the world? How do you explain it? Like, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Do you have it?
It's pulling up right now.
It's pulling up right now. Okay. And I want Omar to tell us who this statue is. Because it's gonna make you go, what in the world? I want him to tell who this is or who this person was. We know who this person is to us. But who was this person in antiquity? This is going to blow your mind whenever Sarah is ready.
It's coming.
God damn, Sarah. By the way, hit the like button. Pull up RAMOMAR's Cash App. Y'all got to Cash App this brother for this amazing wisdom. His Cash App is $RAMOMAR. See what happens when you get here on time? You get to work out all the kinks. $RAMOMAR. Please hit the Cash App early and often. This wisdom is invaluable. Do we have the picture yet?
The picture is taking its time to come.
So we don't have the picture.
No, just a second.
All the setup for no picture.
I'm going to hit you when it goes.
Happy birthday to you. Oh my God. Happy birthday to Sarah.
Oh, you know what? I put it over with a bunch of pictures. Let me go.
So do we have it or no, Sarah? Do we have it? All right, you keep saying a second. I see people in the chat room saying Cash App RAMOMAR, as they should. There it is. There it is. And at RAMOMAR_NY, that's your IG, correct?
Yes.
All right. His Cash App is $RAMOMAR. You guys should hit him up early and often. Is it still taking forever, Sarah?
I don't know why.
All right, we'll move on and then we'll come back. Finish your thought on what you were saying. I don't know if you remember what you were saying. What were you talking about, Omar?
Yeah, we were saying how they make sure we fear what we will all become a spirit. We'll all become an ancestors one day.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have to understand now is the recent passing of the brother Chadwick Boseman.
Yes.
When you read what the people who are close to him would say, his best friend, Ryan Coogler, They would kept saying, I'm reading articles because I wanted to read.
I read that article too. It was good. Yes.
When you hear what they kept saying about this, brother, this is different people saying the same thing. They kept saying he was a vessel used by the ancestors.
But the Christians would say,
Brian Kruger saying this. You hear his best friend saying this, and they kept saying he's a vessel used by the ancestors. But in today's world, they'll say he's possessed by evil spirits.
That's what I was going to say. The Christians would say he's possessed. They say actors are possessed
by evil spirits, according to the experts today.
Right.
You know, we have to realize our people barely came off the plantation, so they're not fully there yet, whether they understand it or not. We barely 100 and something years compared to thousands of years of lineage. So we're not fully articulate of ourselves fully yet. So we're going to still have superstitious belief for a while until we acknowledge it and acknowledge that we want to break out of the brainwashing. You don't know you're brainwashed until you actually acknowledge you are. You have to tell yourself you are brainwashed, and that's the first step to become unbrainwashed. If you think you're fine, if you think you know everything that needs to be known, you're going to be stuck in your program. So that type of mindset that would say, oh, he's possessed by spirits, is the brainwashed programming reaction. That's what they expect you to say based on the programming you have. But when you're in the right path, you're in your proper form, when you hear somebody says he's being used as a vessel by the ancestors, in your culture, you know that sounds right. Because the ancients would say the same thing. As I said previously, the ancestors use somebody that has everybody's ear. So when you see a brother like him in a prominent position with a particular skill, and he has everybody's attention, he's the perfect vessel for the spirit, the ancestors, to use to get a message out to people.
So now you're telling me celebrities, say like Prince, like Michael Jackson, these are the vessels to get the messages to the people from ancestors long gone? They're supposed to use that
particular celebrities. I wouldn't say that. So I'm not saying it has nothing to do with celebrities. I'm saying when you study this brother, where he came from, the type of studying he did, based on what you're studying, you attract certain spirits to you. So if you're somebody that plays video games all day, reality shows all day, I don't know what the spirit gonna come to you to use. What message can they get to you when you're playing video games all day? Right. Somebody that's reading, somebody that's trying to study, somebody's just trying to understand their body, understand their reality. You now become a vessel. They can finally have somebody to speak through them. When we say that they speak through you, you don't hear a voice. They use your own voice in your head to speak to you. You have a thought in your mind that you thought you came up with, but they placed it in there like a seed.
Really?
The seed was planted by them in your mind. So what that means is ideas, businesses, products. Your ancestors, if you're in tune with them, they can help you come up with the ideas to get you out of your situation. But it doesn't work if you're trained to block them out and look up in a book for answers or look up the sky people for answers. You're blocking out your help. You're blocking out what you can call your angels that's always with you. They're with you because they once shared the same genetic lineage that you occupy. So they want to help you. So unfortunately, we are trained to block them out. The institutions we're born in today, they don't acknowledge these type of phenomena. They make it seem scary. Every entertainment property, they call it demons and possessions. And you know, you look at all the movies they put out, it's all jokes. But for traditional cultures, whether it's in China, India, Mesoamerica, a spirit helping you is very important. They're trying to see you win. So when you understand that, they're not here to see you fall or curse you or possess you for some evil doing.
Right. So it's really
bestow wisdom that they've learned to unload it onto you. Their job as ancestors to put wisdom beyond the physical world.
Wow.
So they're trying to unload knowledge to you, and you have to be the conduit or vessel for them to speak.
So it's very interesting about what you're saying. Before I get that, Lauren Francisco, man, thank you for that Cash App. He just cashed app $105. Thank you. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. Sarah said holler at her for her birthday. You just said something that reminded me of Michael Jackson. When Michael Jackson died in 2009, it was June 5th, 2009. When he died, they sent out a flood on YouTube, a flood of his personal calls. and he was talking to some lady, and he said something that locked in directly with what you're talking about right now. And what he said was, she asked him about his creative process. And, you know, how does he write these records, right? And he said, I don't write the records. God writes the records. And then he said, this is why I don't sleep well. He said, you know, because if I get a song, an inspiration in the middle of the night, I got to get up and I got to record it. I got to record it. I got to write it down. I got to record the melody. I got to get it down. He said, because if I don't do it, then God will give that record to Prince. That blew, I was like, oh. But again, like you said earlier, we're conditioned to speak with the voice of a wolf when we were born as lions. And there are so many Christian pastors right now that are gearing up in the fight against African spirituality and our African understanding that the energy, ancestors, they live forever. How can you be a Christian and a scientist? Because there are some Christian scientists, and I know that there is a contradiction in that space. Number one, the second law, or the first law of thermodynamics states, energy can never be destroyed. It can only transform. It can only change. It can't be destroyed. So the energy that is in the body, the energy that is in the ka, the shell, as you explained, that energy can never go anywhere. And as African people or descendants thereof, it seems as if we have been trained to not stay in communication with our ancestors who have transcended to a higher existence and who are available to assist us here. Why is that now demonic? I need to know that.
Well, again, this physical world is maintained through fear, and fear releases cortisol.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Cortisol is a stress hormone. It's the same hormone that gets released, the fight and flight hormone. When you're about to get hit by a car and you have this energy to jump out the way, they're basically trying to maintain a certain type of fear in a certain group of people. That fear, fight or flight, going through your bloodstream all the time, it eventually like locks you out of looking inward. It locks you out. You just focus on survival mode. You're focused on work. You're focused on hustling. You're focused on accumulating things. You're focused on what other people have that you want to have. You're basically outward looking. Everything is physical. The ancients did both. They were balanced. They looked outward and inward at the same time. So that's what we're trying to get back. You have to get back to the balance. We're in the physical world. You have to pay attention to your life now. But there's an inner part that you need to listen to, an inner voice also, not just your loud voice, not just your friend's voice, not just your neighbor's voice. There's an inner voice also that you have to speak to. Today, what people do is they think this thing is the universe or God speaking to them. They think that the universe, the galaxy, the entire solar system is speaking to them somehow. When in reality, if the universe or God spoke to you, your brain will probably explode. You're not even at the level to even commune really with the galaxy. So people who think the universe picked me out of billions of people like I'm a special monkey out of everybody. I'm just more special than everybody, and he's going to give me information that you don't have is total bullshit. This is how these religions work. This prophet has something over here, this person over there, and they make you think the universe spoke to what? Put it this way. You have to think of today's world. You have a business. You have a creator of a business. You have a product. Let's say Apple. Apple is a corporation. It's one of the biggest corporations in the world. Apple was created by Steve Jobs. He created products that everybody depend on. He created products that created jobs, stores. So now you have to look at you as a consumer. Steve Jobs is the top of the ladder. He's the corporate guy at the top. Can you, the consumer, just call Steve Jobs whenever you want?
No.
You have to go to the store first. You have to go to the lower level person first, make your complaints. That's the first thing. Then that person on the lower level goes up to the supervisor. Then the supervisor goes up to the next level. Then basically, you can't just call the president if you want. That's what people think today. I can just call the universe. What I'm trying to tell you is, for you to get to the person at the top, you have to go to the person closest to you, the lower level people. The lower level in regards to your ancestors. They're like that person that works in the store that can eventually get your message up to Steve Jobs one day if you want.
Oh, wow. Wow. No, that's a great analogy. Now, they've replaced your ancestors, because your ancestors, based off of the analogy you just gave me, your ancestors are your intercessor to the Steve Jobs, i.e. to God at the top, right?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
They're the intercessor. So they've replaced your ancestors, who are your intercessor to the higher consciousness, the top of the food chain. They've replaced that with Jesus.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. They're telling you you can call Steve Jobs, call the president anytime you want, when in reality, you know, in the physical world, there's hierarchy to everything. Even in animal culture, within fishes, within lion society, within birds, everything is a hierarchy. And within wolf society, you have the alpha male. You start off at this level, then eventually maybe you can rub shoulders with the alpha male. You don't just think you just got direct connections, you just got their phone numbers to get to them. So what the ancients would do is you acknowledge the universe, you acknowledge the creator, the Netcharoos. But between you and the Netcharoos were your ancestors. Why? The Netcharoos are unseen forces that maintain our physical existence. Your ancestors are also unseen. So they're more connected to what we call God than we are in the physical right now.
Boy, this is hot. The Neteru, the Orisha, in what is it, Mesopotamia, what did they have? Baalim, right? The Hebrews, Elohim, Muslim, Allahumma. Man. So now it's all coming together. They said, let's remove the intercessor that could guide you and help you and replace it with one.
Yes. Basically, yes.
So now you only got one ancestor, and it's Jesus.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, I know this hurt. I know you don't want to hear this kind of stuff, but we got to put it out here because this is the missing piece. See, no knowledge of self, no self-love. No self-love, no self-esteem. No self-esteem, no self-worth. All of this stuff is connected. If you don't have no knowledge of self, no knowledge of self-esteem, self-worth, self-love, all of these things, guess what happens? You don't have relationship. You don't have community. Relationship is the mortar to the bricks of a community. So now look what happens. No knowledge of self, no self-knowledge, no self-worth, no self-esteem. How are you going to build anything? It's almost like you broke the line of ancestry. Right? Because guess what happens? We hear it all the time, especially down in the South. A baby is born. If you got a great grandmama still alive, she'll say, bring that baby here. Let's see who came back. Let me see who this baby is. Let's see who came back. We lost that ability. And what this brother is explaining right now is, and again, remember, keep in context what he said about fear being the real religion. We're going to make fear and the belief in fear, the dogmatic pursuit, like the dogmatic belief in fear. If I don't do this, this ain't going to happen. Or, and fear is connected to competition, right? If I don't bust my ass to get to this point, then somebody else will get there. You heard it in the Michael Jackson statement. God gave me this record. If I don't write it down, he's going to give it to Prince. And so this fear is dominating how we live our lives. And now one of the key pieces to being protected, to being provided for in the spirit realm has been taken away. And it's been taken away a long time ago. We're talking about it right now. We're giving context to it right now. But this has been taken away a long time ago. How do we get back to that space, Omar?
All right. As I said, the first thing is to acknowledge. Remember, what I'm trying to explain to you, when you study how the human body works, when you study how the mind works, you have to look at what Hitler did. Look how quick Hitler came in and brainwashed these Germans. That's just proof how quick. Germans were sophisticated. Germans were scientists. Germans invented so many things. They were so high advanced, but some guy can come out of nowhere and brainwash them into following him like he's the creator of the universe or creator of their world. So that I'm just using that as an example to show you how quick they got brainwashed. After the war ended, after World War II ended, they can't believe how they fell for this Third Reich nonsense that came out of nowhere. The fear of one demographic, the fear that he put into the German people that we need to watch out for this group is going to take over Germany, we need to get rid of them. That just shows you how quick and how easy it is for people to get brainwashed. That's just one example. You see how, when you study the civil wars in Africa, how easy they can get children to take up AK-47s and start killing adults back in the civil wars in Africa. It's easy to train a child, pick up his AK-47, shoot at people. Don't think of them as people. Think of them as things in your way. And the kids just get programmed and they just do it. So now I'm just giving examples of how easy it is for people to just believe in something. God told this person this, so we just got to repeat this for the rest of our lives because God told this one guy and he will never tell us. This guy who lived 1,000, 2,000 years ago, he's the only one that the universe is somehow going to speak to. And for the rest of the existence of humans, we're never going to hear this, or no prophets are ever going to say this again. And we need to believe in some guy, whether he existed or not, 3, 4, 5,000 years ago. So my point now is, the lives we're born in today, the brainwashing continues. So you have to understand, you're trained not to understand these concepts. You're trained to have fear. Even trying to approach it, you get anxiety. They almost want you to think, when you leave a certain group, you're going to feel like you're being ostracized. You're going to lose your friends because we all believe in this group thing. And if I try to disagree with the group, I'm going to be lonely. I'm not going to have any more friends. So that fear of loss keeps you in the brainwashing also. You're going to lose your family. You're going to lose the people at work. So that fear of that in this physical time now is what keeps a lot of people locked in. The fear of rejection.
Right.
But we understand it's an illusion. You have to get over your fear and really get back to your true self. Your true self is way beyond who you are now. When you understand that, you have to start with acknowledging we're brainwashed. And then that opens the door now for the proper information to flood back in.
This is killing right now. This is the kind of stuff we need to be talking about. Now I need to ask questions around, say, Chadwick Boseman, say Michael Jackson, say Prince. Because you gave the example of how Osir, how he passed, yet the energy of Osir was still there. For thousands of years, people kept worshiping. People kept bringing offerings, right? Because that energy is still there. Now, this takes me back to the conscious celebrity. Because Deepak Chopra talked about Michael Jackson when he died. And it makes me feel like Michael kind of lost his way towards the end. Because after Mike hit with Thriller, he was now in competition with himself. So, and kind of worked against him a little bit because he forgot the passion and the love of the craft superseded everything else. He was putting out powerful messages through his records. But when he started competing with himself, he kind of lost sight of it. Deepak talked about this. He was like kind of lost sight of his magic. And that's when his sound became a little bit more formulaic and predictable. You get what I'm saying? Because he was saying, well, this was the formula I used to tap into this, but without the authenticity wrapped around it. When it turns into, now it's about numbers. Because remember, in '87 when Bad dropped, one of the things he wrote on his tour Mirror was 100 million or bust. He wanted to sell 100 million copies after Thriller. And when Bad hit 25 million, which is still, and I'm talking about 1987, people had to go to Tower Records and Blockbuster and physically buy a disc. So that's 25 million discs out the door. When Bad sold that, he saw it as a failure. Bad had 7 #1 hits on it. He saw it as a failure. So he kind of lost, you know, the purpose of what he was doing. And that goes back to the point you made earlier when you said, when you have this, whatever this soul is, like you said, the ancients was looking at a person going, what is it about you? What is it about this particular person that makes them shine in the way that they do, right? You said it earlier. He lost the shine within himself and then became a competitor to himself. I believe those type of people come into our lives all the damn time, right? And whether it's Malcolm X, whether it's Martin Luther King, it's those kind of lights that come into our space. And I think as a people, we should rally around those kinds of people. What do you think about that?
Well, we can't speak on other people's journeys. We can speculate, which I try not to do. That's why even with regards to Chadwick, I wanted to hear from people who had direct contact with him. I wanted to read with directors who had worked with him for a period of time, friends who were around him. And then when you hear a commonality from all of them, but the funny thing is when you read about what they say about him, it's not what publicly is shown about him.
Right, yeah.
If you read it now, they're literally saying the ancestors spoke through this brother. But publicly, you think he's just an actor and a character in a movie, but they're saying no, in real life. In the movie, we see him speak to his ancestors as T'Challa, but in real life, they're saying no, in real life, the ancestors spoke through him too. So what we're trying to understand now is, as I said, we can't speak on other people's journeys. Unless you know them personally. That's why it's better to always, like you said, refer to a phone call that somebody had with Michael and he said certain things. That's the best you can do, because people trying to be experts on people that are long gone is kind of ridiculous.
Right.
You have people speaking on behalf of Leonardo da Vinci and they can't even paint, but they think they know what he was thinking. So I tried to avoid that. I just stick to what was written. And what I want to do is, in regards to the character Chadwick played, I want to talk about the importance of knowing sources, knowing where things come from, knowing where things go back to. That way you can see where the power is, where the plug goes. Right now, everybody's looking at the cord, everybody's holding the cord, but nobody's seeing where is it plugged into. Where is the source of this power? Where is the source of this information? Why are you drawn to this information? How do other people know you would be drawn to this type of information? Why would a fictional character played by an actor garner so much attention to people? And then when the person who played that character passes away, people feel as if the character he played is gone.
Right.
But in real life, you know that just like Batman, the idea of Batman is eternal. Different actors come and fill that role, fill that shell, and then they move on to another role.
Right.
So I'm not saying somebody's going to replace what this brother did, but we have to understand now is, why are we so trapped into a character, terms, words owned by a corporation? So I want to get into the Black Panther character and the source, the plug. Where does this plug come from? Where does this character come from? So I want to go back again to ancient Nubia, around 800 BC. Yes, we're going to get into ancestors and see how stuff from the ancestral past affect us today we don't realize.
Let's see it.
That's what I want to get into now.
Let's go.
To show people how things from 2,000 years ago somehow is relevant today, and people are making billions off this.
Yeah.
Because you're not tapping into it, but they plugged in and they figured it out. So I'm hoping this will help when I do these talks, I'm more speaking for people in the future. Even if people don't understand what I'm saying now, I'm more speaking to whoever's to come in the next 40, 50 years after me. So when people are locked into their belief, it's hard to break them out of it unless something traumatic happens. When something traumatic happens to them, they're more open now to change, and then they can accept new ideas. But when they think everything is cool, they're locked. It's like you're talking to a brick wall. So I'm not trying to reach those type of people. If you're open, I'm grateful. So I want to go back to around 850 BC to Nubia, to a place called Napata. Napata was the capital in Sudan at the time. The name for that country at the time was Nebu. Nebu means gold. The ancient Kemetic people in the north received all their gold from Nebu. They called the country literally the land of gold. When you watch the Black Panther movie, you'll see Ulysses Claw say that they were looking for El Dorado. They're looking for the city of gold. And it's actually Wakanda. Again, the city of gold in the ancient world is Nubia, means gold. So again, reference to the Black Panther movie, listen to the character. He said they were looking for El Dorado, a city of gold.
Yes.
That city of gold is literally Nubia. Nubia means gold. The ancient Egyptians called it the land of gold. Just like in the north, they call it the Black Land. The Black Land is Kemet.
Right.
The gold land is in Nubia. So the land of gold is literally Nubia. Nebu was the resource that gave the kings, the chiefs in that country their wealth. What you have to understand now is when you're creating characters, you have to study anthropology like George Lucas said he does. Characters. What made people follow characters even when they're long gone? What attributes do those characters have that people would want to follow long in the future? So now, Nebu was the resource that gave these Nubians power at the time. Now, there was a certain king that ruled around this period. His name is Tahaka. He was one of the last great Nisut Bitis that ruled both Nubia and Kemet at the same time. What's important about this figure is during his rule, he was obsessed with the old kingdom. He was obsessed, just like we're saying now, with his ancestors. He was looking back at ancestors who lived 1,500 years before he did. He was obsessed with studying what the ancestors 1,500 years ago were about. He wanted to get some of that wisdom from them and put it on to himself. So when you look at his writing, he's always talking about ancestors. He's always about restoring what the ancestors have done. During this 25th dynasty period, he was just like how we're speaking now. You got to think of it. This guy he's looking at people 1,500 years before him to get inspiration for his lifetime. So to study his past predecessors, his ancestors, connect him back to those spirits, he was able to elevate himself up to greatness. So what I'm trying to say is, this character, Taharqa, he would become one of the last great builders in Africa. He would fight one of the war for the ages against the Assyrians. He fought in real wars. He led real armies. He was defending the continent against foreign invasions at the time from the Assyrians. So what I'm trying to tell people is you want to study real people that really did something, that did real inspiration to the physical existence of this world. We can't just put everything on fictional characters owned by a company that creates merchandise and we just buy into it.
Right.
And not acknowledge where the source of this character comes from. So what I'm trying to say is, when you study the Nubians, they wore panther skins. I sent you some references, I don't know if you can pull up. They wore panther skins on their shoulders. They wore panther belts. They worship the goddess called Bastet. Bast.
And that's the origin story.
And the Metropolitan Museum have an amulet with him breastfeeding from the goddess Bast. He literally depicted himself as a child breastfeeding from a lioness-looking deity. I'm saying that in reference to within the Black Panther world, he gains his power also from the goddess Bast. So what I'm trying to say is, even though we're seeing the fictional character today, you want to acknowledge the real person. You have T'Chaka and you have Taharqa.
Look at that.
The names are similar.
Let
They
me
both
ask you.
worship Bast.
Wait,
They
let
both
me
get their
ask
power
you.
from a resource, whether it's vibranium or Nebu, whether it's gold. So what I'm trying to encourage people is, you want to enjoy the entertainment, but the entertainment is, at the end of the day, Wakanda is owned by a company. Every time you say that, that's their trademark word. You want to study Napata, not just Wakanda. So you really want to plug yourself into the same source that they're plugging, get their power from. You don't just want to look at the cord and not know where the plug goes back. So I'm encouraging people, look back at, as we said, your ancestors doesn't have to be directly lineage to you. People that live, that share something with you in common, whether it's the continent, whether it's a similar understanding of life, similar understanding of purpose, whether it's an ancestor from 100 years ago or from 2,000 years ago. You want to find a way to plug back into that source. All I'm trying to tell people is corporations, whether it's George Lucas with his Star Wars series or Marvel with their Black Panther character, they were able to plug into these ancient sources to mine wealth out of it. The wealth is mined from the consumers of these stories. So I'm telling people, you want to look back and now start mining your own knowledge, your own wealth from your predecessors.
Man, he just told us that Stan Lee jacked Taharka's story and turned it into the Black Panther.
Yeah.
That's what he just said. Bast, the cat god, right?
Yes.
That is mind-blowing. Vibranium replaced the gold of Nubia.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Now that's T'Challa, Taharka.
Yeah. Yes. One
Listen.
thing I'd like to say also,
Go ahead.
what Taharka did at the time, he brought back the old kingdom funerary practices. The funerary practice in the belief or understanding of Assad. During his lifetime, he wanted to be buried like what the old kingdom pharaohs did. He wanted to build a Merkut, what we today call pyramid.
Right.
So during that time, during that dynasty, they were obsessed with reviving the traditions of their ancestors, the old kingdom pharaohs. And during his lifetime, he brought back the pyramid building age in Nubia in the south, where end up inspiring his future descendants for hundreds of years later. So Nubia now has more pyramids than what's left in Kemet or Egypt today.
Right.
All because of his inspiration of his ancestors. So it shows you what his ancestors 1,000, 1,500 years prior can inspire somebody thousands of years later and give them a certain guidance and power they couldn't have achieved by themselves.
Wow.
And one thing he did, he brought back the funerary practice. He brought back the practice of being buried in a pyramid. He brought back the mummification practice. He brought it into Nubia. And a part of that mummification practice, you can look up, Taharka had something called ushwaptis. Ushwaptis are little figurines that the kings would get buried with. Ushwapti means the answer. It was like you're basically creating symbolic helpers to help guide you. You're creating little statuettes with inscriptions on it that you're pre-making before you need them. Before you need it, it's like you're putting a receipt for the future before you need to cash the check or something like that. So they have these figurines of Ushwaptis, and Taharka is the only Nubian king that had the most. And when you look at his Ushwaptis, all of them has their hand crossed like the Wakanda pose.
Yes.
So again, you look at Taharka, look at his Ushwaptis, you see the Wakanda forever burial pose all in his statues. So again, you need to focus on real people and not just fictional characters, whether they're biblical, Quranic. You want to stick to people who left real receipts, had a real life, had a real family. This brother fought in a war, pushing away invaders from the African continent. The Assyrians were invading. They wanted to invade Memphis. This brother fought in a great war. We call it the war for the ages, because during this time, the ages, the world was going to be decided between, it's going to be led by Asia, it's going to be led by Africans, so it's a war for the ages. You're trying to decide what direction it's going to go to. This brother led, they call him the gatherer of brave men, meaning he was the one that gathered warriors to go fight. Warriors that had to give their lives for the continent, give their lives to become ancestor trying to defend the continent. This brother in Memphis, his wife and his son were stuck at the palace in Memphis. The Assyrians came in, invaded Memphis. While he's fighting them on another front, they came in from the back, got to Memphis, occupied it, got to the palace, and was able to kidnap his wife and child while he's defending African people. So we are real life stories now. This is not make-believe fantasy characters. This brother is fighting for our people, and at the end of the day, he ended up losing his wife and child. The Assyrians ended up capturing his wife, capturing his son, and he never saw them again. When he got back to the palace, they told him they were taken. Wow. So this brother had sacrificed his family trying to fight for our people.
Wow.
So you have to understand, not just modern heroes like Malcolm, you got to acknowledge the ones in the past. That's why I put the brother on my shirt.
I was about to say, isn't that Taharka on your shirt?
Yeah.
Please show them the shirt. Can they get that from your website?
Yes. That shirt is on my website, RAMOMAR, www.ramomarny.com.
Wow.
So my point is, you want to acknowledge real people and not just fictional characters. Fictional daddy is going to give you gifts because you prayed to him, and make-believe characters that somebody made up in a book, and you're just repeating what the book told you, you're repeating what your mother told you, you're repeating what your grandmother told you. You have to make your own connection. Figures like Taharka are the names that are left behind. You have to understand, during his lifetime, millions of people lived. He is the one that all of them gave their energy to. He's the one that the ancestors spoke through. His name was meant to last for eternity. So even till today, his name is being spoken. It's just repackaged on the corporate guises today. They repackaged Napata as Wakanda. They took the resources, they took the panther skins that the Nubians wore, and repackaged it as a character that they corporately own. And our people are not saying you can't celebrate the character. You want to acknowledge where it's plugged in. You want to acknowledge the source to get your power back.
So people are asking for references. They're asking for books. Where can they go to read this stuff and study this stuff? Do you have any references for them?
All right. In regards to this era, there's a book called The Nubian Pharaohs I would reference, because that book shows you the statues. Matter of fact, there's a museum that, if you're in the States, there's a museum I recommend people should go to, the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. You actually can see the real Wakandan artifacts from this real person.
Really?
You can see panther jewelry, ram jewelry, symbols that are repackaged in fictional characters. You can actually see real statues of real kings that really lived. So I always tell people, the museum I recommend that you should go to is the Museum of Boston, the Boston Museum. They have the largest Nubian collection outside of Nubia, outside of Sudan. So the Nubian pharaohs will be the best start, especially if you're trying to understand the Wakandan story. But remember, Wakanda is not just Nubia, it's a combination of different parts of Africa brought together.
Right.
The reason Nubia is important is Nubia has the receipts written. You can read annals from Taharka's father, Pianki. You can see all the wars they fought.
Pianki the Great.
His son inherited. So the reason you focus on Nubia is because Nubia has receipts. Other parts of Africa was more oral tradition. It was not as sophisticated in regards to writing it down, leaving it to 2,000 years later, you can find these stories.
Right.
And that's why I said you want to refer to somewhere you can find receipts, find translations, and then verify that translation through multiple sources. So when you see different scholars saying similar things, you know that they're on the same track. So I would say you look into the Nubian pharaohs, and that's where you can start to get an inkling of the source for the character that people love today. That the brother Chadwick Boseman, who we just found out was a student at Howard University that studied hieroglyphs. So this brother, back in 1999, his professor said he was one of her best students. So this brother was well-versed, well-read. He became a vessel, as his friends would say, that the ancestors could now use.
Wow. So let me ask you this. A lot of people, and I see it all the time, National Geographic, they don't mind calling the Nubian pharaohs black.
Yeah.
Why do they not mind calling the Nubian pharaohs black, but they got a racial problem when it comes to the Kemetan pharaohs? And you know the Arabs have been in there Arabicizing. There it is. That is T'Challa and Taharka. She finally got the pictures together, right?
Okay.
She finally got the pictures together.
Yes.
No, it's not her fault, of course, it's not her fault. It's the computer, you know. But that drawing of Taharka with the, what is that, the leopard skin?
Yes, the leopard skin, the leopard belt.
This drawing is done by you, am I correct?
Yes, I did this painting in 2010 years ago, 2010, yes.
And basically, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they pretty much swiped this man's history here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And let's go back to the picture real quick, because I want Omar to break it down. Omar, Taharka is wearing a crown, but it looks more like a cap, and it has horns on it. Is he a devil worshiper? I know it sounds dumb. I gotta ask this, because you know how our people are. We brainwashed.
Yes. No, he's wearing a gold cap, the cap of the creator deity Ptah. If you study deity Ptah, he wears a cap. And there's statues of him. His cap is usually painted blue or it's painted gold. Ptah represented the first mound of creation. So you have to understand, according to the ancients, when the world was created, it was nothing but water. It was the waters of noon. And out of that water came the first mound, the first piece of land that came out of that water. That piece of land, they looked at it as a dome or a head of Ptah. So Ptah represented that first mound that came out of the waters. Similar to babies. They notice when babies are coming out of the womb, they come out head first, out of the waters of the woman's womb. So they looked at the head of Ptah as the head of that first mound, that first head that comes out of the water. So in Nubia, they looked at the mountain they called Ju'uab. Ju'uab means the pure mountain. To purify something is to pour libation or water on something. You look at the glyph for Ju'uab, it's a foot with a base with water pouring out of it. So to purify something is to pour a libation or a base on this, or water on something. So they looked at this mountain as that symbolic mountain of creation, that mountain that came out of the first time, the first creation they called Zeptet. So that mountain became a place where they revered the creator God, they revered the creator of the physical plane, which they call Ptah, and all the kings wanted to go to this mountain to be anointed under God. So mountains and creation became associated together. So what the Nubians would do is they built temples literally in front of this mountain to have rituals, have ceremonies. The temples were first built at Ju'uab, today called Jebel Barkal, during the New Kingdom period, when Kemet or Egypt had control over Nubia. The Egyptians brought temples, the priests opened shrines at that sacred mountain of creation. So what you're looking at is, you're looking at the king standing in front of the temple of the creator god Amun. Amun's symbol, animal on earth, was a ram. Rams are the only animals that love to climb the highest mountain. So what you understand that now is, mountain, as we just said, the first mountain that came out of the ocean in the beginning of millions of years ago, they looked at mountains as symbol of creation. What animals like to climb mountains? Rams.
Right.
So when you understand how they thought, since the ram likes climbing mountain, the ram is close to God. The ram goes to the highest mountain, the highest peaks, closest to the most high. So because this animal goes up to the highest cliffs, the highest mountain, they associated that animal with the creator. So what they would do is to show that they have a connection to the creator, they would wear the emblems of his sacred animal. His sacred animal became the ram. So the kings would literally wear ram horns like the ram to show that they're connected to the creator of the universe. They would also wear beards, long curled beards, because rams are the only creatures you see with long curled beards. So you'll see all the pharaohs. You'll see Asa wear a long beard. You even see statues of Asa with a beard. He has ram horns.
Right.
And also, the ram became associated with the creator. The ram is not being worshipped. It's a symbol. Just like you have sports teams. The bulls are represented by a bull. This team is represented by animal. So they said for the creator, we're going to choose this animal because this animal climbs to the highest peak. It's trying to get to the most high. It's trying to get to the heaven. It's trying to get back to God. When you understand that mindset, the chief, since the chief or the king is the highest person in the land, he also has to wear the symbols of the Most High. So they would end up wearing ram horns. So when you look at Taharka in that piece, you'll see him wearing ram horns. You'll see the kings wear long beards. This is connecting them back to that sacred animal that's associated with the Creator God.
So this has nothing to do with the devil or the scapegoat of the Bible.
No.
Or the pentagram with the ram's head inside the pentagram. This ain't got nothing to do with that.
Well, that's a repackaged version. They call it the Baphomet. It's a repackaged version. You look at the Baphomet, it has female features, male features, animal wings, goat's heads. It's basically an amalgamation of different symbology, which we can't get into now. That's a whole nother talk, getting into Freemasonry, the Knights Templar. But that's a repackaged version that the church, who hated the Freemasons, hated the Masonic order, vilified anything associated with them. So now, today, the vilification continues. So symbols that people don't understand is considered devil worshiping symbols. But as again, the church didn't like what the Templars were doing at the time. The Templars became wealthy. The Templars founded what we today call banks. You could go from one city to the next without bringing your gold, because the Templars set up different stations where you can leave your gold here, take a carriage miles away, and pick up your gold there. So they invented the banking system today. And the church didn't like they were getting wealthy. So they became villainized. Anything associated with them became villainized. So that's why everything, always Illuminati, is devil worshiping. So the symbols are just symbolic symbols. You can't take it literally. So the Baphomet needs more explanation, but I'm giving an example that the church villainized anything associated with them because they didn't like the power that these guys were getting at.
And then, of course, the church funded the Crusades.
Yes.
And the Crusades were against the Moors.
Yes.
And the Moors inherited the knowledge of ancient Kemet.
Yes.
And created secret societies, which created the Templars. So that old knowledge that they love so much, they love it, but they hate us for having it, had to be villainized. This doesn't it make sense? Every time you look in, who are the bad guys in the Bible? The Egyptians.
Yeah.
The bad guys are the Egyptians, but everybody go hide in Egypt.
Just say the Pharaoh.
Right? Everybody go hide in Egypt. Pharaoh got his ass kicked by Moses. Jesus and them had to run because Herod was after them, and they went to Egypt. Joseph was sold into slavery in Egypt. The Egyptians are the bad guys.
Yes. They're against the one God. That's the main reason. They're saying these people are polytheists.
Right.
And anybody who's a polytheist is an enemy of the one true deity. So if you're not a monotheist, anybody who's not a monotheist is an enemy to people. Anybody who's a polytheist is an automatic enemy to anybody that's a monotheist.
But Egyptians created monotheism through Akhenaten.
Yes, through the
Aten. He was the great heretic pharaoh, right?
Yes.
And destroyed all of the gods and replaced it with the Aten, correct?
Yes.
That predates Moses, right?
Yes.
What in the world? Look at my face. So, again, we have more pictures. She finally was able to pull up some pictures.
Okay.
There's a picture that I just need you to explain.
Okay.
Talking about ancestors and what in the hell? To me, that's Michael Jackson. Who is that?
Oh. So I saw this statue in 2014 when I went to Chicago. That statue is located at the Museum of Chicago. Yeah, I went there in 2014 when I went to Chicago. That statue, I remember when I first saw the statue. So first of all, the statue's of a woman. You know it's a woman because she has a long, wavy wig. and she has a headband around it. So the statue is believed to be from the New Kingdom. The New Kingdom is around 18, 19 dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
But what's so funny about the statue is when you look at it, it looks similar to the modern Michael Jackson. Not saying that that is Michael Jackson, but just showing that this statue has been in this museum for a long time. I'm sure he was aware of it. It literally is to remember the time, back in time almost. But not, as I'm not saying that is him. It just resembles somebody that's prominent in our modern world. Just to show how something from the past, even though remember, it's a broken statue. So when the statue was fully functional, it didn't look like this exactly. We're looking at a statue that has a round face, eyes, broken nose, and it looks similar to somebody we're familiar with today. He wore wigs. Michael, before he passed away, end of his life, he wore wigs. So he was almost wearing a wig like a comedic pharaoh did. He always wore his eyeliner. So I'm saying that the museum did acknowledge that. I remember I read an article, they did acknowledge that everybody says this looks like Michael Jackson. They did say Michael Jackson did know about this statue. I don't know if you ever went to the museum in the 80s, but the statue's been there for decades. But it's a female from the New Kingdom 18th dynasty, and it just looks similar to somebody we're familiar with today.
Now, let me just tell you, that's crazy to me. You might not agree with this. The nose looked like the nose he made for himself.
I know, of course. I know what you're saying.
Now, you might not agree with me about this, Omar, but I gotta say it. Listen, the holographic principle states that we live in a three-dimensional reality that is a projection from a two-dimensional energy field. It's holographic because none of the information is ever lost. It is a projection of a real reality. And I believe that the lives we relive in this reality are part and parcel to lives that we've lived in other realities. It's whole information. It's not fragmented. And maybe MJ was a woman back in the day. Because he was effeminate than a mug as a man in this reality.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm not saying that that's Michael Jackson, but it could have been Michael Jackson in another life.
Yeah, I remember I said I don't want to speak on other people's experiences. I can't speak for them, but I'm aware that the museum knows it looks like him, and the museum did acknowledge he knows about the statue.
That's crazy.
And who knows? Remember the time came to him, and that's literally everybody can go visit that at the museum in Chicago. If anybody wants to see that in real life, everybody want to go take a picture with that particular statue, that's in Chicago.
Sarah, did we get any of those other pictures up? Because he explained a couple of pictures. That's you where?
That's me at the Boston Museum.
And who are you standing in front of?
I'm standing in front of a Nubian king, Ashpelta. He's one of the kings that ruled after Tahar. So he's one of the pharaohs from the 25th dynasty, Nubian dynasty. You see how giant, I'm tall, I'm 6'7". And you see how tall that statue is next to me. So this is real Wakanda, real Nubian kings that people need to go take a picture with and not just go to Comic-Con, fill in the pockets of a company. So you really want to go. Remember, when you look at these statues, we have to understand with statues. Statues weren't symbols to worship back then. What you have to understand, the ancients realized the unseen forces are eternal. They never die. We, on the other hand, we decay. We die. The Netcharu, the gods, can never die. You can never destroy the sun. You can never destroy the wind. You can never destroy gravity. These elements that maintain our physical experience, they never go to cease. Like we decay. We're going to fall into flesh. So what they did is they embodied these unseen forces in stone, because stone can never be destroyed. So you're putting an undestructible element, an undestructible idea in an undestructible material. We, on the other hand, you can't put the deities within us because our bodies are going to decay one day. So the deities are eternal. So you use eternal material to embody the deity. So they weren't worshiping a statue. It was a symbolic way to embody an undestructible force in an undestructible material. So when the other groups came in, oh, they're worshiping statues, they're worshiping idols. It's symbolic. It's not literally saying you need to pray to a piece of rock, or a rock that's carved like a goat, or a rock that's carved like a lion, or a person. It's putting indestructible forces within an indestructible material. What they were doing now is, before these statues, they're saying that the particular figure, spirit, would embody the stone. So what they'll do is they'll bring offerings on behalf of that person's spirit. They needed a representative to say what spirit, who you're trying to give this offering to. So they will carve the likeness of a particular person and how they looked as a substitute for them. If they're here or they're gone, they would use this as a way to pay for services from them. In a way, let me explain it this way. To get your ancestors to help you, you have to acknowledge them. The way you acknowledge something is by nourishing it. If you don't nourish something, it goes away. You don't acknowledge it. For you to sustain something, a connection, you have to feed something. So what the ancients would do is they would offer food, the food out of your own mouth. You're offering it to an unseen spirit to help give you something. So instead of you eating the burger and pulling yourself, you're literally deciding to give it to an unseen force so it can acknowledge you. You're saying, I acknowledge you, please acknowledge me. So the ancients, you'll see statues, small statues or big statues of an ancestor, of a deity. It's symbolically trying to get that unseen force to give you attention. You're trying, because it's all, remember, the forces are there. It's all about, do you acknowledge them? They never go anywhere. Right now they're around us, but most people live their whole life never connected to these forces. So what the ancients would do is they use food and drink as a means to get communion with those unseen elements.
Wow. Here's another one. Taharka.
Yes.
With the leopard, right?
Yes.
And he has the Uraeus on his crown.
He has the double Uraeus again.
Explain the double Uraeus, because that's a snake, and according to the Bible, the snake is the devil. Please explain the serpent.
What the ancients observe about snakes is they're very powerful. They could spit venom. Their eyes never blink. They always seem to guard something. You notice when you look at snake charmers, they move left, the snake moves left. They realize like somebody's trying to get through the door. It just blocks you from getting somewhere. So they looked at these snakes as protective emblems. If you're trying to get into the door, they will literally stop you from entering somewhere. So they became barriers of protection. And it also can bite you. And when it bites you, you literally feel like your skin is on fire. The venom is entering your bloodstream. You feel like you're being burned alive. Your venom is entering your bloodstream. Your body is being broken apart because of the venom. So they looked at it as this creature spits fire. It spits venom. The venom literally felt like fire is in your body. But it says, so the point is, these creatures became symbols of protection, and the pharaohs wanted to have that protection on themselves. So they carved it in small little amulets and put it on their foreheads as symbol of protection. Cobras never blink. So when you blink your eye and close your eye, their eyes are always open, symbolically. So the way they would use is one cobra would represent the lower part of the country, the other cobra represented the upper part of the country. Right. Because the Nubians ruled the ruler north and the south, they put one cobra has the white crown on one head, the other cobra has the red crown, and they'll basically put both of those cobras on the cap of Ptah on their head.
All right, let's run through it.
The king wearing the leopard skin again, the panther skin with the panther belt, the same panther belt. You can look in the Black Panther movie and see all the characters are wearing within that film. So just showing you again how these things are real life people. You can't just only focus on the fictional characters. You want to focus on real people who contributed to real life events, contributed to your existence today.
Right.
And pay homage to them. So that way, one day you can bestow information from them, and they will give. You give information to them. They give information to you, and that's only done when you acknowledge these unseen spirits.
Right.
When you're looking on the screen, you're looking at Ushwaptis.
What are these? These are that's what you described earlier, right?
All those statues are literally doing the Wakanda Forever pose, and that's Taharka's Ushwapti. Again, this brother was buried in the Wakanda pose that everybody's popularizing.
Go to the next. No, we already did that one. Because I want him to go through these pictures he sent you.
Okay.
Wait, and there was a bust of Taharka as well. I wanted to show that again because that's clearly not a European. Yes. And the reason why I want to bring attention to this one is because everybody just doesn't want to tell the truth. All these historians, Zahi Hawass, and these Arabs, they want to Arabicize these people who were clearly from the continent, right?
Yeah.
And this bust right here clearly shows you a man of African descent.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes, that's a bust of Taharka.
Yes.
A fragment bust.
Somebody said, where can they find this figurine? Or this bust?
That figurine is in a museum in Europe. That's not here in the States. That's in Europe.
Nice, nice. Do we have more? All right, the computer has decided that it doesn't want more right now. So let's just do this really quick. If you guys don't hit this man's Cash App, because again, what is the purpose of death, right? This man has explained it. And we still have more to talk about, but first off, I want to say everybody who hit the super chat, I appreciate everybody for hitting that super chat. We got some significant, substantial super chats today. Thank you so much. But I also encourage you to hit the good brother Omar's Cash App, which is $RAMOMAR. And also don't forget Sarah, it's her birthday. $Sundays with Sarah. But let's get back to the concept of death.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they call somebody who has an illness that will kill them shortly terminal? And why do they call the place where you go to board an airplane a terminal? See, terminal means to transfer, to transition. You're leaving one place and going to another. For the ancients, death meant transference, travel. We're going from here to there. Do you understand? To the Westerner, it means the end. And this is why the ego is so powerful, because the ego is tied to identity. This is my identity. Will I be me on the other side? The Egyptian, the ancients, weren't really worried about that. They understood that we live forever in a higher form.
Yes.
Now, talk to me. Oh, that's the stela he was talking about, where Bast, the Egyptian goddess, the cat goddess with the lion head, is breastfeeding.
Yes, so you're looking at the goddess Bast, same goddess from Black Panther, breastfeeding King Taharka. So that clearly shows you this is a Manat piece found, and his name is on the back. On the back, he says, the Lord of the Two Lands, Nisud Biti Taharka, the son of Ra. So it clearly shows you a real person named Taharka being breastfed by the same deity within the movie Black Panther. So again, focusing on real people. You don't want to keep giving your energy to fake characters, whether they're biblical. You need to focus on real people so you can get real help. Because you're calling on unseen forces that can't help you, that never existed.
Right.
Only because everybody believed in it, and they're all trying to get the same blessing. This group must be praying harder than us. That's why they're blessed. No, they just rigged the game in their favor, so they always look like they're winning. It has nothing to do with God blessing or the universe, giving them more resources. The game was rigged from the beginning, so they have trillions of dollars over you.
Right.
Don't think because they've prayed more than you do and they got more blessings than you. That's the mistake our people aren't today. You have to connect back to your ancestors, connect back to your true self. Now let's get back to what you were saying about death.
Wait. Before you go on, I got to address this because of that point you just made.
Yeah.
Connecting to your ancestors is like the family name, the family lineage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guess who you're more connected to now than your family lineage? You're more connected to the Europeans' family lineage. You want to be like the Rockefellers. You want to be like the Rothschilds. You want to be like the Bushes, the Trumps, and the DuPonts. You put on their symbology. You wear Gucci. You wear Louis. You don't wear RAMOMAR. You don't wear that, right? It's a cold game. This, to me, what you're showing us right now, right, is that Taharka said, I need to go back 1,500 generations, 1,500 years, and reconnect with what my ancestors were doing and bring that back to life. Is that not a family lineage? That's a family lineage. And what we do today, if you're not wearing Jordans, Jordan is Nike. Let's just keep it 100 now, right? If you're not wearing their brands, you're keeping their lineage alive.
Of course. Yeah.
This is like and talk to me about this, Omar. This is like casting a spell of cultural ignorance on yourself because you think, well, you know, it builds your self-esteem because you lack knowledge of self. Talk to me about that.
Well, like you just said, casting spells. These words are very powerful. This language, this English language, is a collection of Greek, Latin, French, German, Arabic, all in one pot of soup. So the words we use, the brands we want to associate it with, the names we want to associate it with. Remember, a lot of these brands are named after people. All of them. Most of the top brands. It's the name of the family attached to it or the person who created the brand. But again, like you said, these spells, we have to learn something. Words are literally spells. If you don't understand what you're saying, the ancients said the sounds of what we do today, we say the word, but we don't say the sound. For example, in the ancient world, we say A today, they would say ah. Instead of we say B, they say ba. We say C, they say h. So they made the sound. The language back then, we say D, they say d. Now, let me give you an example of how powerful word spells are. Let me give you an example. For example, like I just said, D. You ever notice that the D sound is bad vibes? Go through every letter in the letter D and see how many negative energy, death, drugs, destruction, defeat, demon,
despair,
devil, disappear, diss me. Every D sound is a bad vibration. Literally go through the entire D. Defeat, destruction. You can't hardly find drugs. Every word in the D sound spell is a negative energy.
Denigrate. Yeah.
Yeah. Disease. Just go through all of these. I'm just trying to say, you never probably heard anybody acknowledge how the word sounds have certain energies attached to them. And the ancients were aware of these sounds. You literally go, and then the next opposite of the D was the W sound. You go through the W sound, it's wealthy, white, wonderful, willing. All the W
wisdom
sounds are always uplifting and positive sounds. All the D, you're dark skin. All the D sounds are all bad. Demon. It's just, these are just, so my point is, that's giving an example of how sounds, words, spells have effect on us and we don't know it. I'm just giving you 2 letters in the alphabet. We can't go through all the alphabets of how the ancients categorize sound and use certain sounds for uplifting vibrations and use other sounds for downward vibrations. Death, D. Everything with the D sound is a downward, demonic, devilish, deceitful word. So we have to start understanding now these words we use have power. If you're not aware of the power they have, you're under its spell.
My chat room is crazy. They coming up with all kind of D words like dunk, donation, diplomat, definitely, dad. Our people, somebody said dessert, delicious. But let's just be clear though. You casting spells, right? You got people in our culture that haven't been properly educated about who they are. And so then they become disheartened, or, you know, they find out, oh man, this ain't real. Talking about religion, right? And you know what happens? They say none of it is. None of it is real. Well, listen, you've been praying to their version, their interpretation, and their spells based on your stuff. You're not praying the original stuff. You're not locked into the original spirituality. You're using their watered down interpretations of what your ancestors actually created. So again, you're not going to get the same results. I've heard people say, how is it that the slave master and the slave could be parishioners in the same religion? You using their version of it. When you use your version of it, you conquer them, and they know that. Ask Haiti. Haiti said, nah, we finna use voodoo, Ifa. We finna use this on y'all. And that's the only country in the Western Hemisphere that has ever defeated slavery. We used our spells on their ass, and they had to get up out of there. And that's why Haiti is still the brokest country in the Western Hemisphere today. They got all types of sanctions and all types of bullshit going on in Haiti. Think about that. Yeah. Again, get back to your stuff. That's why we're doing this show. Omar, tell them where they can find you. Tell them how they can support you. Y'all got to buy the shirts. Y'all got to buy the gear. Y'all got to go to his website. What's the website, Omar?
The website is www.ramomar.ny.com. And the Instagram is RAMOMAR_NY. RAMOMAR_NY.
All right. And then they can follow you on Instagram too, right?
Yes.
What's the IG?
RAMOMAR_NY.
Okay. Somebody just asked, where does speaking in tongues come from? The Book of Acts.
Look, I can't answer that. I don't use that term. I don't use that language. So
right.
I can't speak on what I don't know.
Right. I'll tell them. It's in the Book of Acts. And it tells you what tongues they spoke. Now, you're reading it in English, but what language was it written in? It tells you what language they spoke in. The 50th day of Pentecost, right? 50 days after Jesus so-called was crucified. They were in the upper room, and they were all given gifts, some of them, by the Holy Ghost. Now, this is all real weird and Marvel-like to me. This is Stan Lee writing right now. But it tells you that certain people got the gift of tongues, and it tells you the different lands that they were sent to speak those tongues. It's not saying it also tells, look at Big Mama. It also tells you that you're not supposed to speak a tongue if you don't have an interpreter. So this newfound is something else. Don't be mad at me. We trying to come give you this information. All right. Don't forget, I'm sorry, Big Mama. Omar, that's a picture of my great grandmother. She keep putting up there. Sorry.
Okay.
Don't forget, go to my Masterclass. It's still available right now. Yet Monday that was yesterday, right? Yeah, Wednesday was the first class. Ironically, the keys to self-authorship. Jeez. You can still see it. You can sign up right now and go back and watch the replay. Tomorrow, we're about to go even deeper. You can sign up to the masterclass right now. I urge everybody that's in the chat room to go do it right now if you haven't done it. If you have done it, check your spam for the instructions and the link to be able to go on and see it live. Lauren just sent you $200 for your birthday.
I was only at 35 before he hit me.
She said she was only at 35 before Lauren hit her. Thank you. All right. So please, I urge you all, go to ZoWhatMasterclass.com. Sign up right now. Trust me, life-saving masterclass on relationships. And we delve into the spiritual information, scientific information. We talk a little bit about the social game rules because, like I said, most relationship specialists are really just sociologists trying to get you to fit into the social norms. We crash all of that stuff. So don't miss it. 4 modules, 4 hours long. Get at me, ZoWhatMasterclass.com. Once again, thank Omar Buckley. And I'm going to tell you all, man, please hit his Cash App. Show your appreciation for this brother. $ RAMOMAR. Please get at him. Buy his gear. Zo, please let that man. We got to go. So, Teeter Harris is your name. Teeter, we got to go. We're not going to be here all night. The hell? Motherfuckers will just keep asking for stuff, won't they? Just keep asking. Please let that man say some more stuff about Tahaka. Listen, he did his thing.
We're going to come back with the suppression of the divine feminine.
Hey, tell him a little bit about that real quick. The next talk.
We want to get into why the modern system has relegated women to this Holy Spirit figure, when in reality, the people that are usually spirits are men. Men usually die off first, and women are left single mothers. And men are usually the ghosts compared to the female. Remember, Aset is left a single mother. Her husband is gone. So he's like really the Holy Spirit is really the father. But they flipped it again. They reversed it now. The mothers is hidden. It's just the father, the son, and this ghost. So we want to get into how that switch literally reduced women's status after that. And it's been a downhill flight from then, right? Women rights, whether in Christianity, Islam, just brought them all the way down. And what made during the old ages where women had higher power, higher respect, what's the difference between now and then? And how we can, in our lives today, reapply some of the original divine teachings of masculine and feminine power.
Man, that is so big. The same is true in Buddhism. Buddha was a prince and finally saw the real world and the suffering in the real world. And then he left. But they don't tell you. Well, it does say it in his books that he left his newborn child and wife. So she too was a single mother, and he was a ghost to them because he never returned to his former life after enlightenment. Man, this is going to be... Boy, the divine feminine, the suppression of the divine feminine. We're going to do that one next. We appreciate everybody for chiming in and getting in. This is going to be great. Thank you all. Hey, Omar, thanks again, brother. We're going to chop it up again, and let's do it again. Deuces.